Hello everyone, it's Nick Lawson with CDC Take Charge Software, and this is Lesson 7 on writing xBasic code in Alpha software. Today what we're going to look at is a couple of things. First, how to take and do on-error event trapping. Then we're going to look at restricting access to data values based on field values already entered within a table. And then finally, we're going to look at the use of a conditional object to change the functionality and the view of the screen of a form. So let's start with the on-error event trapping. Here, we're logged in as Stacy, and we're at the main menu screen. So, Stacy is an administrator, so it says that she can manage users. So we're going to do that. Now you'll notice I've changed the form somewhat. Instead of the glaring hot pink, I've gone to a more cool and subtle blue-gray. I've also fixed the calculated fields which were not working correctly, and I've rearranged things a little bit. Plus I've added some buttons which aren't on the original form, and I've added a function called show password. Now here, this is the password field, and I've set the password to Windings. Now, you wouldn't do something that simple if it was an important field data that you needed to protect. But this is very simple and very straightforward, so it's the easiest thing to do. I need to know what that password is for Stacy because she can't remember her password. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Show Password, and there it is. Notice that it also set the button to now say Mask Password, so I can hide it or restrict it again once I'm done looking at it. Okay, now let's say I'm not an administrator and I want to see the password. You are not authorized. See, pretty simple branching routine that does that, and we'll look at that in detail. Now, as I stated, the first thing we want to actually examine is the on-error event trapping. Where we have that written is on the on-exit button. When you are in the administrator screen and you exit, you can return to one of two places, the main menu or the take message screen. On the take message screen, we've added a button that will take and pop up the administrator form, allowing you to enter a user that does not exist in the database. So let's go ahead and see how that works. Here I'm going to exit here and it brings me back to the screen. So now I'm going to go to take messages. Okay, someone calls and I know that that user is brand new and they are not in the system yet. So here I have my little button that says enter new contact. So I click my button, pops up the administration form. Now I'm going to put Mr. tab to go into the first name field, Bob, tab, no middle name, Costas. Alright. And I'm going to set a password for Bob because he told me his password is to be football. Alright. And I'm going to go ahead and save my entry. Now, Bob is not going to be an administrator. So now I'm going to exit. And there you go. From this screen, it came back here instead of going to the main menu screen, assigned a new ID, and put in his name. So from, let's see, Reliant Stadium. Well, I don't know what I did there. I must hit the cap locks key. Of Texans called or telephoned and needs information. Right. There you go. Mark is urgent. Now, we want to go ahead and save our message. Alright, now, remember this message was taken by our girl Stacy. So we want to take and review all messages taken by her. Here they are. And we got quite a few in here. So here's the one I just took. Or let's say I want to take and actually look at a previous one. Let's look at Don Juan's message. So I go back to show message details, and here we are, we're on Don Juan's message. Pretty simple. So that's the conditional object that you just saw. So here we're in review. It switches our form, shows a browse, and we're on a conditional object that allows us to pick and choose messages taken by Stacy. Not by anybody else, just by her. And we'll add some more buttons to this form later, but not today. So let's go ahead and go back, and then we want to exit out. Now let's look at how all that's done. So we have to go to our control panel. First, we're going to look at our administration form. Go to design, and let's look at our on exit button so that we can see that on error event tracking. Okay, the first line of my code is on error go to just close. Now the reason I put that there is I want to take and wrap all of my code within the error trapping routine. So if there's any errors in here, it'll branch down here to this label just close and then pick up the next step in the code routine. So now if I log in from the menu, take message form is not open. Therefore it would return an error. So rather than have an error pop up on the screen, our on error go to code snippet says go to just close and just close the form. The reason we're doing that is we don't need to assign that message ID at that point because we're not taking a message. So there you go. The same thing would work if you were going there from a different screen. Now, if the take message form is open, then it sets the variable, grabs the new ID, assigns that to new user ID, which passes to the for value on our take message screen and displays the new username. Very simple. Okay, now let's look at our show password code. Here we are nesting a for or if else end if statement. First, we need to determine whether or not the user is an administrator. If they are, then we take and say if our button right here, button 1, text says show password, then we want to set the font to Arial, and we then want to change the text on the button to be mask password. Otherwise, we do the opposite. And if the person is not an administrator, then we just pop up the message box, sorry, you are not authorized. Pretty simple. Okay, now let's go ahead and look at our conditional object. So we're going to go to the take message form, go to design. Okay, here you go. This little frame right here is the conditional object. Now, by default, that's called condition 1. We left the name that way. And on the form, we set a variable, which is v condition equals 1. So we're using a numeric value to set the state. So let's look at our two choices that are on the condition. We have taken form and taken list. So there's the list and there's the form. Okay? Now the properties on those, again, is very simple. If v condition equals 1, we're on taken form. If v condition equals 2, we're on taken list. That's all you got to do. So now, when you take and click the button, it sets the variable, which then refreshes the condition and shows the proper object. So if v condition equals 1, then v condition equals 2, and we set the button text to show message details. Otherwise, we set v condition 1, and we set the text button to review message or review taker messages. And then we refresh. That's it for today. Certainly not much that we did, but very important stuff and very simple ways in Alpha software to control data on the screen, restrict access, and do error handling. Thanks a lot and have a great day. I look forward to talking with you again.